I'm on with Coach Blauer. Thanks for meeting me here, Coach.
Of course.
We announced the fact that you were going to be coming out to Phoenix to do the Concealed Carry Combatives course in coming up in March, and we didn't have a chance to get together before the holidays. Everything was just too hectic with end of year stuff. So didn't want to have too much more time pass without getting you on here and talking about this amazing course that I'm just so pumped about. I was lucky enough to help you out in this course back in, I think it was October of 22 when you gave this course in Fieldcraft Survival headquarters, which was just amazing. And I immediately knew that I had to get this course out here at some point. We're lucky enough that we got a Be Your Own Bodyguard course last year, which was great. We had a great showing. And I just thought that the natural progression would be to give this course, especially to my community out here, who most of them are shooters and concealed carry folks. So assuming that there will be quite a few people that are familiar with you, that are familiar with Spear, that have done the BYOB, that have done my intro to Spear, but we are reaching out to people that might not have as much awareness. I wanted you to just talk to us a little bit about why this course is so important, and how it's different from a lot of similar courses out there. And yeah, we'll start with that.
Yeah, so great questions. And for those of you not familiar with the Spear system, it is probably, well, I shouldn't say this because it ruffles feathers when I say the only system but it is the only system that is entirely predicated on, built upon the sciences of kinesiology, psychology, neurobiology. In other words, everything that we do is consistent with anything you would find in neuroscience education, in a kinesiology class, in a physiology class. And what that means is, regardless of your gender or your training, the program will make you safer. And so I'm not even talking about kinetic options. I'm talking about, how do we manage fear? Everyone should notice I'm wearing my No Fear shirt. It's one of the verticals of my company. And we always tell people, you can't manage the fight if you don't manage the fear. You might get through it, but that's often case the result of some sort of PTSD or a negative association with the violence experience. And violence is never fun. I abhor it. I'm afraid of it, which is why I train. God forbid I'm in a situation. I want to have options. And I know the cavalry is minutes away, and violence happens, the maxim, right? Where, and I always tell people, violence loves speed. The only way to compete with the speed of violence is if you improve your mind speed, which is why our whole program incorporates the neuroscience, the neurobiology, because it makes you faster. So that's kind of like a little, preamble to what the SPEAR system is all about. SPEAR is an acronym, of course, for Spontaneous Protection Enabling Accelerated Response, referring to the startle response and how we figured out through interesting classical conditioning drills how to weaponize your flinch. Because your audience is mostly, a gun, concealed carry, I want to do a little exercise with you as we'll role play here. And I do this very often. There's a couple of shooting instructors in the area, and every so often I get to go talk to their classes, new concealed carry. There's the graduation moment, and if my schedule permits, I go in and I talk for half an hour. Because one of the things I will tell you, and please, everyone listen carefully to this line, one of the things that I can't stand is anytime there's a violent encounter, whether it's an empty hand attack, a knife attack, a gun attack, there are always scores and scores and scores of comments, that's why I carry, that's why I carry, that's why I carry. And I cannot tell you how much that drives me crazy. Because most people, including cops, have never been in a gunfight. And you don't know, unless you're doing very realistic and relevant scenario training, you don't actually know how you're going to handle the sudden stimulus of fear and violence coming at you, which is why we say violence loves speed. And I'm not saying I've got all the answers, but I have trained, and you know this, Herman, tier 1 operators from all the military verticals, all the acronym agencies for decades now. I'm 63 years old. I've been teaching since 1980. And our focus has always been from the first student that got dropped in 1980, which set me off on a new direction to go, all training must solve a problem that occurs in a scenario. It can't be, I like this kick, so I'm going to put it in here. I like this arm bar, so I'm going to slip it in here. The bad guy or the attacker influences everything from the timeline of violence to the level of violence to the appropriate response. And so we can throw around things like disparity of force and fear and the reasonable person clause and all that. But at the end of the day, unless this is happening to you on a frequent basis, your response isn't predictable just because you're doing flat range drills or dry fire drills. Am I saying don't do that? Absolutely not. You're missing my point. You're a selective listener if this is making you defensive. You should be going, holy shit, I've never thought about some of this stuff before. And whether you come to my course or not, it's just, I should think about this stuff. I should be a critical thinker because your life will change if you get into a shooting. You get into a shooting, whether you maim, kill, or the bad guy gets away and rounds go into your neighbor's house, your life changes. If you're a good Samaritan, and you know this, I don't want this our talk to get canceled and pulled off the air, so I'm going to dance around this next part. The optics on the law-abiding citizen and owning firearms they favor the bad guys. You know what I'm talking about. Bad guys go in and go, ID, here's where I live, right? Can I get a gun? So having said that, let me role play with you, and hopefully everyone is watching this and not listening to this. This is for all the people that go, this is why I carry. What I want you to do is imagine there's a road rage situation, and I jump out of my car and I'm threatening you and I'm screaming at you, and you get out of your car because you don't want to be pinned down and you're blocked in here, and you're trying to calm me down in a reasonable fashion. Herman, where would your hands be if you were trying to de-escalate and calm me down, right? You'd be in what we call a nonviolent posture, and you know that you're carrying, right? And I would like to see if I can make a little adjustment here. I would like to see your face a little bit. You're blocking your face, and this is very subtle. Look at my hands, and look how your hands were. So you're getting a little private lesson here. When you're talking to somebody, if I'm going, hey man, just take it easy, calm down, my smile or the inflections of my face influence behavior. So we want the threat or the person we're trying to de-escalate to see our face. Move your left hand over a little bit. I know the camera's angle. There you go. They're perfect, right? You can still get your weapon. You can still hit the spear. You can still do the biological airbag. So now you're talking to me. You're trying to calm me down, right? So let me see you pumping the air.
Hey, man, it's going to be okay. Take it easy.
And all of a sudden I go, I can fucking kill you, and I'm coming at you, right? What are you going to do if I suddenly produce a knife and I go to slash you? You're going to flinch and you're going to hit me with the spear. Now, what I want you to do right now, guys, is everyone looking at Herman. Herman, take your hand. You're in a protective spear position. I want you to turn your hands towards you like this. Take a look at your hands.
No gun.
Show them to the audience. Look back at your hands and tell me if there's a gun in your hands.
Nope.
No, you can drop your hands now. I do this in all these classes. I have like 24 people in the class. They stand up and I role play with them. I go, get your hands up. You're at road rage. There's a fight in a bar. You're not drinking a restaurant. You're trying to be the courageous bystander, or it's something that's coming to your personal space, and you're here, right? And you're like, listen, take it easy, man. Take it easy. I know you're upset, right? And then Bob, all of a sudden, takes a swing at you. You, by default, at a neurobiological level, need to go, whoa. And right now, while you're pushing away danger, unless this person is trying to kill you, and they're saying they're trying to kill you, and they have the means, and they've got the skill, and they got the weapon, and they're trying, and it could be empty hand, you need to take care of the initial assault, drive in, create some pressure, and then maybe you're getting into some sort of, a contact shot or whatever. But you can't rush to that. You can't just rush to that. You need to weather the ambush. You need to take care of the violence. And if you're a law-abiding citizen, you don't have your gun in your hand like you do at the range. The difference would be, of course, let's say an attempted home invasion, and you hear a window break or door, you grab your gun and you're talking, the weapon's out. But in all other instances, even if you're a cop listening to this and you're inside the reactionary gap, your gun is in your holster. You need to deflect and defend from the initial assault, headbutt, haymaker, tackle, gun grab, hit the spear, which is our what we call our biological airbag, and then you still need to threat discriminate. What would happen if, when I go to hit you and you do the spear, your forearm, Bob jumps at me, I'm carrying, but I don't want to brandish my weapon, right? We're not allowed to do that morally, ethically, legally. And it would be a stupid thing to do as well if that wasn't a law. If someone said you can brandish your weapon, you know you're escalating. So the psychologically balanced individual is going, hey, listen, take it easy. I don't, and you're trying to diffuse it. If Bob comes at me and attacks me and I flinch and drive out, might my forearm catch the brachial, the radial nerve, the trachea? Might I hit them with an incapacitating shot as I drive out? The answer is yes. So if I'm already leading and going, I got to get to my gun, I'm indexing my gun, and maybe telegraphing, I'm standing here like this and I'm moving back and I'm doing stuff. Am I leading and escalating? And of course, the scenario dictates, but I'm just giving an example where sudden violence erupts and you're here and you go, fuck, and you hit the Bob. You still need to, he may fall back and fall down. And let's say he falls down. I don't need to, if he's unconscious, draw my weapon. I might, but I don't need to. And so to me, there's a missing gap where we're blending moral, ethical, legal in scenario-based training and giving people simple drills where you need to solve problems because, drill 1 says de-escalate. Drill 2 says the person comes at you like this, and so on and so forth. Anyways, hopefully how fired up I get. This is a mini seminar here. Here I go. Ooh, that was part of the class. You don't have to show up. No, it's such an important thing. And this demo that I did with you, for all of you that go, well, that's why I carry, your gun is not duct taped to your hand. So when you flinch in an attack, your gun isn't there. You still need to get to the weapon. And the problem with that is if you're coming at me and I'm slashing or I'm punching or I'm choking and I'm hitting you, first of all, getting to your gun, you need to override the amazing fear spike that happens. So when there's a sudden violent stimulus at close quarters, your executive function, the part of your brain that says, oh, draw your gun now and do this, that executive function gets hijacked by this sudden danger. That's why, and I'll share one more example, and then I'll let you ask whatever questions you think your audience needs to know, is everyone on this call has flinched, right? You flinched in your life. You flinched before you met me and started training, before you got certified to teach. You might walk into a spider web and you're like, oh, shit, right? Like, your hands go up. You're concentrating or you're focused and someone goes, Herman, Tony, and we go, oh, damn, man, they're like, don't sneak up on me like that. I'm a lethal weapon. Don't scare me, right? So that was a joke, folks. But you understand, like, the startle response is non-conscious. If you think about this, and this is also a very important part of our system that goes over a lot of people's heads, where they ask me questions like, why are you teaching people to flinch? You don't want to flinch. I go, no, of course you don't want to flinch, but it's non-conscious. Trained and untrained people flinch almost exactly the same. It's a primal response that occurs at a spinal level. It bypasses cognition. Hands come up to protect the head. If there's time and space, we push away danger. At no point are you going to draw for your weapon during a startle response. If that's a true surprise, you need to go shit, and then you need to get to your weapon. And that's the training modality: startle, flinch, convert, startle, flinch, convert, which is what we mean by weaponize the startle response. So the other piece that I wanted to take away and really hammer home is, because it's non-conscious, like the theoretical answer, if I see you, a guy's brandishing a knife, he slashes somebody near you, he comes running at you, what are you going to do? And you go, well, I'm going to draw my weapon and shoot him. And like, that's the correct theoretical answer, except you might be going, oh, fuck, right? And there's videos of cops getting attacked by guys with weapons, and they can't get their gun out of their holster because when you flinch, your body contracts. I just had a call with a guy who's done our basic bureau and bodyguard course, and he wants to go more deeply into this, where he's concealed carry, and a confrontation erupted with somebody else that he knows has guns, and the cops were there, and this guy took a swing at the student of ours, and the guy doesn't even remember. They go, "Holy shit, that was close. He took a swing at you." He doesn't even remember the punch, and he said to me, like, the chaos of fear and danger. He says, "I didn't even notice that he punched at me," because suddenly auditory exclusion, tunnel vision. Oh my God, is this going to escalate? And for those nano moments, you almost forget that you're trained and you have a gun. Now, if you're a soldier, if you're a military, another one of the services, if you're a cop, the training is at a higher level. You teach firearm safety and firearms deployment all the time. So the gap time between stimulus response for you and converting, if somebody really surprised you, would be way shorter than somebody who hadn't. But that's what we want to, that's what we want to share, are these drills and ideas, so that people can start thinking more safely and intelligently about if they're going to draw a weapon and use it, and how.
Yeah, I love that. And, the way that I teach has completely changed since I came across you and your system, and everything that I do with firearms is always in the context of, we're isolating drills. We're getting you better with a complex tool, but don't mistake this for the fight. Don't mistake this for violence, right?
Yeah.
You're still going to have to create time and opportunity to get to the tool, which is the same analogy that we use for martial arts and combat sports, right? And that's one of my biggest frustrations as a firearms instructor, primarily firearms, is that we've come across this. We come across this with martial arts and combat sports quite a bit, with the maximalists that as long as I'm training jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai or MMA or whatever, I'm good to go in the street. We have the same thing. It's the same people that say that that's why I carry, fuck around and find out, all that stuff. It's the same.
Surprises. I hate
It's the same people in the firearms side, which is, well, I'm armed, I carry it, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
And and even if you get to a point where you're so proficient and you get a sub 5-second draw, if you think that your initial reaction to an attack when you are the target, I'm not talking about when somebody else over there is getting shot at, when you have the time and opportunity to do your stance, grip, side alignment, side picture, trigger press, right? I'm talking about when you are the person being ambushed and you're starting from, oh shit,
right?
You think that your initial reaction is going to be your sub-second draw. It's like, that's John Wick bullshit that we don't see it in real life violence. It just doesn't happen.
You raise a good point, and reminds me of another one of the rants that I make, and that is, most of the shooting, the influencer level shooting, you see people rarely shooting on the move, or one of our maxims is train off balance on purpose. Train off balance on purpose. The most adverse scenario would be you emotionally, psychologically, and physically off balance. Can you draw your weapon while you're falling? Can you index the person and get away and start to shape primal, gross motor, stabilize, transition to complex motor skill, and blend it? So one of the dangers, and this is kind of part of our secret sauce, is most people in the self-defense world focus on polishing complex motor skills, not realizing that, like I said earlier, executive function gets hijacked. It bypasses your cognitive brain. Your cognitive brain is where you've got the neurobiological access to the myelinated neuron that carries the pattern. The motor engrams that say grab your and do all this. I'm using big fancy words to explain a very complex but simple system. There's no such thing as muscle memory, although so many people use the term. Muscles don't have memory in the way you want to believe it does. If you got your gun in your hand and I chop it off with a katana, your arm isn't going to shoot me just because you got muscle memory, right? It's detached. It needs to be connected to your brain and your ability to threat discriminate and manage fear and go now, right? And go. But to your point, a lot of the stuff you see on Instagram and online, where you see people step off and they're poised and they do stuff, even if they run up to something and they stop, a lot of that, and I'm friends with a lot of these guys, and they're way better shooters than me, and I would never want to get into a fist fight, let alone a gunfight with any of these guys. But a lot of those skills are idealistically positioned to protect as a courageous bystander during some sort of active killer event. Machete, baseball bat, pipe, gun, knife, and you're like, holy shit. And then you draw your weapon, but it's not coming at you where you're going to get the G-force face. Oh shit. And you're like, what? Because that, if it's at extreme close quarters, what we call the jack-in-the-box moment, right? Where I'm going, dun, 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 and the clown pops out and you go, fuck, right? You can know the clown's going to pop out, but action is faster than reaction. You are not going to be able to finger jab the clown. And we used to bring, I don't know if I ever told you this, we used to bring Jack-in-the-Box, the actual one, to certain events, but they kept on breaking because they were made in China or something. I don't know. but I would bring them and I would say, who's got fast reflexes here? So a clown is going to come out of here. I'm going to crank it. You stand here with your fingers right here, and when that clown pops up, I want you to finger jab before the lid pops up. And he goes, ugh. No one's ever done it, because at a physics level, action's faster than reaction. So you need to look at the ambush. Now, for those of you that are, again, not really listening because you're a selective listener, and for those of you who aren't understanding, and I say this respectfully, you might go, yeah, but I did this drill and I did this drill. They're drills. They're consensual. We call this ACP, awareness, consent, and preparation. Right? So right now, like if I went, hey, high five, that was a great interview. I hope this answers some questions. If I turn around and my wife is here and says, hey, I got a question for you, and I go, yeah, and then she pulls out a gun or a knife, I'm not John Wicking her or Jackie Channing her. I'm going, what the fuck, right? Because she's in my inner circle. Now, if you look at, with the exception of the craziness of the active shooting events that have happened, most murders and attacks are committed by people that are in your inner circle, people that you know. They know your routine, right? We have a gardener that comes twice a month. This guy could kill me anytime he wants. He just has to knock on the door and go, hey, I've got a question about the sprinkler out here, this over here, and he takes it like, I'm like, what? Because he's in my inner circle. I brought them. I got 6 dogs, 6 big dogs. When he comes by, he texts, I bring the dogs in. You know how many times he said, hey, do you want to look at this? Do you want me to remove this? And I go out there and I'm like, and I'm making a joke, and hopefully he never kills me. But the idea is that people that understand our routine, people that we wave at, get past our, that radar of like, hey, what's that? That doesn't look, that looks a little weird or feels a little weird. Anyways, I'm going down some, the message there is, what's going to save you during sudden violence is your biological airbag. That's the only chance you have, because it's the fastest thing you can do, because you don't think to flinch.
Right. And so that takes me to my next topic, because I mean, obviously, as per usual, talking with you, it's like trying to drink out of a fire hose. And especially, to the uninitiated, all this stuff might be just like, what is going on? They're probably, hopefully got a few little things that they could take with them. But the beauty about the fact of this offer that we have, especially for this course, is that not only are they going to take this course directly with you in person, you're throwing in your human weapons system course, online course. Yeah. So I wanted you to also talk a little bit about that, and how if they do register and they can get access immediately to that, how they're going to be able, if they start working on that today, by the time that they show up to the class, a lot of the things that might have sounded a little bit, confusing, or maybe a little too, esoteric or something, a lot of those things are going to be addressed in that course. So talk to us a little bit about human weapons system.
The human weapons system is probably the most complete synopsis of my life's work. And I've been studying violence and fear and aggression for over 40 years. And we put together a course, an online course. It's 10 chapters. It takes you about 5.5 hours to get through it. It comes with an 80-page manual. But it goes over, what do we mean by you're a human weapon? the basics, the basis of the neurobiology, kinesiology, psychology is explained. These are short lessons. This one's 10 minutes. This one's 30 minutes. This one's 15 minutes. There's a tactical fitness component to it. There's a de-escalation element of our nonviolent postures. We teach you the basis of what is the SPEAR system, the acronym, how to practice the drills, how to develop speed and power. So anybody interested in the concealed carry course, what will serve almost as an onboarding so that when you come in there, you're chomping at the bit to get to drills. You're not intimidated by the drills or the nomenclature. Okay, guys, we're going to work on the SPEAR system now, the spontaneous protection enabling accelerated response. Remember, the myelinated neuron doesn't hear you. We're like, what? And I don't talk like that really in the live class. That's just me showing off on a Zoom call right now. I want everyone to go, wow, he's really smart, but I'm not. I want you to understand that I've always been so afraid of violence. This is what led me to study fear, because I studied all these martial arts and I go, my heart is still pounding here. I'm still nervous. I can't do that thumb on the third metacarpal bone, drive the pinky towards the elbow. And there's no evidence of anybody doing that in real violent encounters anyhow. Like if you look at body cam and CCTV and stuff like that, you don't see people doing these highly technical, complex motor skills, especially when it's like murderous intent, like at a asocial level. Everything works in a demo. And if you got like some drunk who's swinging at you, yeah, you kicked him or you punched him or you took him to the ground and you choked him out. That happens, but you don't see that. In fact, there's an interview I did with one of the UFC fighters, Anthony Smith, who is a world-class top 10. Yeah. He's a light heavyweight. So he's, I guess, 190, 195, 50 fights, MMA fighter. Some 165-pound guy broke into his home. He's home with his wife, kids, I think his mother-in-law. And I had him on my podcast, on the No Fear podcast. He said that was the scariest and hardest fight he ever had. The scariest and hardest fight. Here's a professional fighter. The guy had no weapons on him, and he was on top of him and couldn't submit him or knock him out. He said it was tougher than any professional fight. Listen to that, folks. So, yeah, that's why I carry. You need remember the demo I did with Herman. Hey, turn. Oh, no gun. Wait a minute. So if this is escalating, you still need to weather the ambush, control the movement and the balance, recalibrate your brain and get to your weapon to morally, ethically, legally make a decision to introduce a firearm into the scenario. But anyways, back to we're including, so the human weapon program is like $497 if you buy it online. It's free with the cost of the course. And it's not one of these like monthly things. You get it's lifetime access once you have it. So you can practice the stuff. And I will tell you this. I don't know how many confrontations, if you're a doorman, if you're security, if you're a bodyguard, if you're, a 50, 60-year-old good Samaritan who just got a gun because you see the world's getting a little weird. So, the propensity of frequency of altercation changes depending on what your job is and where you live. But I will tell you this, if you're a doorman at the roughest bar in Arizona and you carry, you might get into a verbal conflict every single Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. You may throw people out every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. You may punch somebody, sweep them, pin them, call the cops, once or twice a month, but you will statistically almost never get into a gunfight. So let me ask you this, are your firearm skills more important statistically than your de-escalation, self-regulation, a big fancy word for, can you keep yourself under control? Because you don't want to reactively pull out the weapon prematurely, because your life changes when you pull a gun.
Absolutely. Including fear management, which is, a huge aspect of this as well. So yeah, so I was stoked to hear that you were going to include the human weapon system as part of this, precisely because that's going to prime everybody to be able to absorb that much more and internalize this stuff a lot more. So by the time we're there in person, it's just going to be so much more productive. So I was really happy to hear that you were willing to do that for our folks. Not only that, we're also giving a $50 discount with discount code Alpha1, which I was so happy to hear you guys were willing to do that for us. But on top of that, I haven't even run this by you, Coach, but I'm going to offer anybody that registers for your course before the end of this month, so until January 31st, a free pistol class with me.
Oh, amazing.
All right. So huge opportunity. Come learn from the best. Come learn directly from Coach. Come do all the concealed carry combative stuff in the gym, and then learn this stuff from someone that is actually on your side of this stuff when it comes to the firearm stuff. Defensive Pistol 1 or Defensive Pistol 2 on me. Register before February up until January 31st. I mean, we basically, what more can we do, Coach? I mean,
that's amazing. What's the value of your course, the pistol course?
That class would be anywhere between $75 to $100, just right there.
Yeah.
And
so
we have a Defensive Pistol 1 class literally 2 weeks after you're here doing that course. We have on Saturday, the first Saturday in April is follow up, which is a Defensive Pistol 2. So you can get in one of those courses for free if you attend this class. So I think it's time that we start kind of changing the mentality behind this kind of stuff. For me, I kind of feel like it's my life's work to kind of pivot firearms training to what really is important and what really matters and what really is ethical and legal, as opposed to just what looks cool in Instagram or on YouTube. And I think this is just the beginning, at least here in what I can control in my little setting here in Phoenix. This is kind of just like the kickoff to that, because up until now, I've kind of lived in 2 different universes, which is firearms, martial arts, and this gaping chasm in between that I just never knew how to fill until I found you and until I found your work and I found Spear. And this is really the only way that we actually get traction in making people safer in reality, not on television, not on all this bullshit that you see. Like actually making good people safer is with this kind of stuff, with what you do, with your research, with everything that we do. So again, super stoked to have you out here in a couple months, Coach. Thanks for your time. Everybody, DM us if you want more information. Send us a comment, like, whatever you want to do to get more information to start the conversation. We already have a lot of people that have signed up. If you've already signed up, I'm still going to honor that free class, guys. So just send me an email. I'll send you a discount code for your pistol class. But Coach, been more than generous with your time today. Always love speaking to you. So if there's any parting words, let us know.
Yeah, no, amazing offer to add the pistol course to that. People don't train that much, right? And you buy the gun, new holster comes out, new guns come out. Some of you might have more guns than holes in paper, and it's you got to train, get a Mantis system or something else, be dry firing, practice drawing, practice, getting to the weapon. I had my wife in here from time to time with a SIRT pistol, and I'll put her through a little routine where, and I had her at one point, just to like give an idea, where I had the SIRT pistol and I took the magazine out and she didn't know. So I had her like striking the dummy and running, and then fall to the ground and simulate falling up. And I said, over there is the night table. You got to get the gun. But she's fighting off, like doing something. So it's anaerobic. And she goes and she grabs the gun, and then she sees the mag there. And it's like there's a moment where it was like, oh shit. Right. And like, that's the type of thinking and training that you need to do, where you're, again, like I said earlier, you're on purpose creating scenarios where you got to solve a problem. You're off balance emotionally, psychologically, physically, on purpose in the training. So that way, if you're off balance in a real violent encounter, which you will be in the first few seconds, part of your brain goes, we did this in training, let's move, right? So you don't want it to be like you're trained a certain way, and then what you experience is so different. That adds to the gap time between stimulus response. We want to improve your perception speed so we can improve your reaction time. And like you said, Herman. Like we've been studying violence, fear, and aggression for years. We pioneered aspects of scenario-based training so that it's realistic, relevant, and when you're ready, rigorous. You scale to that. Our training is incredibly safe. It's logical, it's scientific, it's psychological. If you feel like you're intimidated, like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for this, like we're not sparring, we're not doing force on force in this class. There are fun drills you'll do to experience it, but it's done in a very measured, intelligent way. And if you've got questions about that, hit us up, and I'm looking forward to meeting everybody at the course.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, Coach. I'll see you in a couple months.
Okay, stay safe. Thanks, man.